Good Dayrise Collective. So our next booklet we're going to get into is chapter 11, How to Structure Your Water. So I downloaded this PDF back in probably 2017. So this is online. I don't know where I found it. I think it was Google Scholar. And yes, I'm just going to get into it and chat about it. So, chemically, you and I are composed of elements. Yet it is only when these elements are organized that they become capable of conducting and storing energy. Both abilities are necessary for life to exist. Coherent structures bring life force to water, and even its physical properties change. Through it is still difficult to document, yet we have documentation, Dr. Emoto, specific molecular arrangements. Clues indicate changes within the water structure are being reported using techniques known as Raman spectrometry. And subtle changes can also be detected in how water tastes and how it feels. Many describe structured water as smooth and creamy. Water's basic molecular structure generates a repeating hexagonal symmetry. Establishing basic structure in the water is similar to learning to waltz. Once you know the fundamental pattern, you can incorporate any number of steps and you can create your own unique dance. Within this chapter, you will learn various ways of creating water's basic structure. How to structure your water. Selecting a container. I'm sorry if I got this wrong. Victor Schwarzenberger. The egg-shaped containers as a vessel to store and energize energy. The shape of the egg creates its own energetic vortex. It keeps energy moving. Water or any substances inside the egg shape retains its life force and resisting becoming stale or stagnant. This is why many ancient civilizations chose egg-shaped urns to store their grain and seed. If you have a glass or ceramic egg-shaped container, this is ideal. An egg-shaped pitcher works nicely too. Use whatever, even a quart jar will work. So there's depictions, which I'm also going to be posting here. An egg-shaped container creates its own vortex, supporting continual energetic movement inside. Plastic containers. It is now well known that heat, detergents, and aged accelerants release of toxins from many kinds of plastics. The energy in structured water hastens the release of toxins from plastic, just as it contributes to the swift release of toxins from the human body. This is especially true when water has been energized with paramagnetic substances. Paramagnetic influences tend to open molecular pores in plastic. Toxins are released in a manner similar to the way they are released when plastic is exposed to heat. Whenever possible, avoid using plastic to store water, especially structured water. Plastic also generates a static-like energy. Now, I have my own little theory when it comes to plastic itself, hence me doing my own little thing. So, plastic, if we break down the word, it sounds like plasma, and then stick is plasma stick. And it's really interesting because a way to combat plastic and toxins from plastic are certain plasma enhancing things. So let's just move on, because I find it, oh my god. Plastic also generates a static-like energy in water, and it interferes with water's natural electromagnetic field. Both glass and ceramic storage vessels support the free flow of energy much better than plastic. Plastic contains numerous toxins that are generally released in water as the plastic moves and bends. Two types of plastic commonly used in storing water are polyethylene terephthalate, PETE or PET, labeled with the number 1 inside the recycling triangle on the bottom of the container. and polycarbonate labelled with the number 7 inside the recycling triangle. PET plastic contains and releases phthalates, which are hormonal disruptors. Polycarbonate plastic releases another chemical known as bisphenol A. This is a hormone disruptor. This is also a hormone disruptor. Both phthalates and bisphenol A harmful in extremely tiny amounts. Neither forms of plastic should be used of the storing or storage of water. Other forms of plastic may be less harmful but not desirable when glass or ceramic are available. So I'll put the little PET thing here. Plastic can be identified by the recycling number on the bottom of the container. The above symbols identify the types of plastic. PET and polycarbonate are the most commonly used to store water. Both leach toxins, especially when water is structured and energetically enhanced. What water to use? From an artistic perspective, a clean canvas is required to paint the patterns and the colours of work of art. Water requires a clean canvas too, freedom from debris that would distort the expression of her full potential. Spring water from a clean spring is ideal. However, filtered, distilled, or reverse osmosis RO water will respond to the energy enhancements described in this book. In addition to selecting the best water you can find, Prills mentioned in chapter 8. So I don't have the previous chapters or the chapters beyond 11. But I did look up Prills, and I will put a little thing here for Prills. So yeah. Excellent in preconditioning treatment for any water prior structuring. Prills ease old imprints and neutralize many contaminants. They prepare water imprints and neutralize many contaminants. They prepare water through structuring, and Prills help ensure a clean canvas from which to begin. When the water's canvas is clean and prepared, coherent structures is much easier to accomplish. The use of Prills ensures a greater degree of structure and coherence. And then it gives an amount. A 3-ounce bag of Prills to treat a gallon of water in about half an hour or initial conditioning period. During the initial conditioning period, Prills should be soaked in a gallon of water for 24 hours, allowing for 24-hour conditioning. 3/4 of the gallon can be used or refrigerated. The remaining 1 quart can be diluted to a full gallon. Another 3/4 gallon is ready within an hour when Prills are left in the water. The process can treat up to 1,000 gallons of water before Prills require replacement. Next we have the addition of salts. Pure water does not conduct electricity. It is the salts, ions, that enhance the pathway for energy to flow through water. Minerals in their ionized form help water conduct energy. They also help water retain information, and they support water structure. When you add unprocessed salts to water, it is better to add as a saturated solution rather than as a solid. This way the ions are ready to perform the above functions. How to make a saturated salt solution. To make a saturated salt solution from natural unprocessed salt, dissolve the salt in clean water until no more can be dissolved. This will take several hours or overnight. It doesn't matter if undissolved salt still remains in the bottom of the container. Use the liquid from the top to add to your water. Unprocessed salts contained balanced blend of minerals and trace minerals that are not available in all water. The following solution can be used to augment or your existing water regardless of whether the water has already been mineralized. If you use distilled or RO water, the addition of salts is vital. You can discover other natural salts or salt solutions that are equally good. Look for full complement of sea minerals. Note The amount indicated below are enough to support water's structure. They do not represent therapeutic amounts for those interested in mineral supplementation. So I'm going to read number 1, which is like the salt solution. I am going to take a photo of the 6, and I'm just briefly going to be mentioning the headings of the other 5. So the saturated salt solution, this can be made of Celtic sea salt, Himalayan salt, real salt, or any unprocessed salt. Most common is sea salt that has been processed in some manner. Use 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of saturated solution to half a gallon, depending on the concentration of minerals already in your water. And then the others added, which you can make solutions out of, is Blue Ocean Minerals, Liquid Chi, Oz Water, Oz from Water of Life, number 5, Quantum Balance, and number 6, Dilute QMP. Okay, so this is what I find really interesting. So the salt solution, the QMP, which is number 6 of the solutions that you can make up, QMP is actually quinton marine plasma. So the fact that reducing plastic and adding in plasma, anyway. So energizing your salt solutions. When ions are energetically charged, they are more efficient in carries energy. Thus, when salt solution is energized before it is added to the water, the resulting water is enhanced to a greater degree. To energize salt solutions, keep a copper triskelion or inside a light life ring. Both methods will be discussed later. Cool. Elements for creating structured water. There are 2 natural forces that are required for creating basic structured water. The first is a vortex. This is nature's way of gathering energy. The second form is organizing energy, magnetism, piezoelectricity, light, sound, and other subtle forms of energy. Magnetic and paramagnetic forces are easiest to use. However, pyroelectricity forces work too, as do light and sound, as discussed in Dr. Emoto's The Hidden Messages in Water. There are many ways to contribute these influences to generate water's basic structure. Creating a vortex. If you stand at the geographic North Pole and look downward, the Earth spins counterclockwise as it rotates around the Sun. If you live in the Northern Hemisphere, staring in the counterclockwise direction is literally going with the flow. This is a feminine spin. It generates creative energy and incorporates it into the water. If you live in the Southern Hemisphere, which, holla, Australia, if you live in the Southern Hemisphere, stirring with the flow of the Earth will be in a clockwise direction. In the Northern Hemisphere, stirring clockwise goes against Earth's spin. This is masculine spin tends to dispel negative energy, and masculine spin slightly reduces the surface tension of the water. It also reduces hydrogen bonding and makes the water seem thinner as negative patterns are released. However, once dense energy patterns have been discharged, further movement in either direction adds structure, gradually increasing the surface tension. Coherent water has an increased surface tension due to the enhancement of hydrogen bonding and other molecular forces. This is what gives structured water its creamy and smooth texture. In nature, water spins in both directions, first one way, then the other. If this clears and reorganizes the water, continuously removing dense energy and building life force within each change of direction. There is a number of ways to create a vortex, everything from manually stirring water or using magnets and vortex generators. So manually stirring to create a vortex. Stirring the water yourself is a wonderful way to create a vortex. It is a superb way to dance with the water. If you stir manually, stir for several minutes in each direction. Speed, velocity is not important as connecting with the water while you stir. After you have stirred in both directions for several minutes, you may want to further energize the water by stirring in a figure 8. The figure 8, otherwise known as infinity symbol or the lemniscate, meaning ribbon, is a geometric representation of endless and eternal nature of energy. The symbol is patterned after the Mobius strip, a strip of paper which is twisted and attached at the ends, forming a two-dimensional surface that can be travelled without end. The symbol is used in many ways to energize and repattern. When water is stirred in a figure 8, additional energy is incorporated into the water. Another simple technique for manually stirring water is also an exercise for the brain. It provides imploding and exploding feminine and masculine energy of the water while balancing and integrating the right and left hemispheres of the brain. This technique offers a way to engage the whole brain and to participate in the dance with water at a deeper level. Those with attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder may notice an increase in ability to focus after these short exercises. 1. With your left hand, begin stirring the water in large circles counterclockwise, in a counterclockwise direction. Obviously I'm south, so mine is the Wait, okay. Counterclockwise direction. Gradually reducing the size of the circles until the stirring only in the center of the container. Then slowly increasing the size of the circles until you are stirring large circles again at the edge of the containers. Reverse the direction of the stirring, making large circles clockwise, in the clockwise now direction, gradually reducing the size of the circles as before until making a very small circle in the center of the container. Then increase the size of the circles again. Over there. Switch hands, using large circles to go clockwise in the direction of your right hand, gradually reducing the size, then expand again. Then reverse the direction of the stirring, so you're stirring counterclockwise direction with your right hand. Repeat the process, reducing the size of circles and expanding them again. This simple exercise takes less than a minute to stir 10 and 15 times in each direction. As you reduce and increase the size of the circles, the resulting water has a unique energy which may help with integration and focus throughout the day. Stirring with a utensil. Wooden, copper, silver or gold stirring utensils rather than stainless steel or plastic are recommended. Copper, silver and gold are oromos elements. Copper and silver conduct energy and produce an electric field that extends out for a significant distance in water. Copper acts as an interference, stepping down etheric energy to a manageable level on the physical plane. You can make your own stirring rod from electrical wiring by intertwining 2 or 3 of these strands of copper electrical wire. You may also intertwine silver fragments or use a combination of copper, silver and gold. Appendix B, I don't have Appendix B, I'm assuming that would have been part of this PDF. For that gives some making your own stirring rod ideas, but imagination, we can make our own. Awesome. I actually have copper wiring, but I have recently taken a lot of my arts and crafts stuff and put it in storage, which has my copper wiring. But after doing a bit of this, we might bring it out and make a little experiment. The next thing is vortex generators. Technically, the creation of vortex also satisfies the requirement of a source of organizational energy, which includes salts. Vortexing spins ions, which induce tiny little magnetic fields. Okay. The addition of magnetic or piezoelectric light or sound energy amplifies the organizing function of the vortex. The addition of magnetic and piezoelectric light or sound energy amplifies the organizing function of a vortex. Okay. An inexpensive coupler called a vortex magnetic energizer is available on the internet and connects two bottles as shown. Swirling water bottles create a vortex. Spinning water passes through the magnetic field created by the four strong neodymium magnetic position in the coupler. We're going to skip past the actual the machine that does it, because you could just buy a machine. I'll get the picture here of the machine, don't worry, but I'm going to skip past that. And we're going to go into magnetics, adding magnets into or on the ball structure. So magnets alone cause molecules to spin. I'm not wearing my glasses, but whatever, we're doing it. Water that is placed in an egg-shaped container within a magnetic field will become structured on its own, in time, without even stirring. In this case, a vortex is created by the shape of the container. If you do not have a vortexing device, you can add magnetic energy to an egg-shaped container by placing magnets around it. Place magnets, the stronger the better, on each four sides of your container, at the top and the bottom, so they are opposing each other, as shown on the opposite page. I'll show you. At the bottom of the container, tape the north magnetic pole facing into the container. Directly across from this magnet, tape the north magnetic pole to another magnet so that it also faces the container. At the top of, immediately above the magnets, tape magnets with their south pole facing into the container. Turn the container 1/4 turn and place more magnets at the top and the bottom, so they alternate between north and south poles facing into the container. This shape-type magnetic arrangement can be used on a blender for more powerful effect. It is similar to a vortex blender developed by Dr. Ron Carson. So this is the picture. The explanation was far more complicated than the actual picture. So you get a picture, a cup, right? It's like the four corners. One, you find north, and you put the four opposing each other on each side, top and bottom. It's not that complicated. The writing of this makes it sound more complicated than it is. It's really not. Adding piezoelectric energy with crystals. Quartz crystals have piezoelectric properties that will bring structure to water. They also have a capacity to structure water via epitaxy. When placed in water, nothing else is required. However, the use of an egg-shaped container will hasten the process, depending on the size of the container and on the size of the crystals. It will take several hours or overnight to structure the water. The longer the crystals are left in the water, the better. Keeping a crystal in your water bottle will also help maintain the structure of the water when you leave home. Periodic agitation will keep your water structured and energized. Anhydro quartz, a specific type of quartz crystal known as anhydro quartz, or works even more rapidly to structure water. These crystals contain remnants of ancient water that have remained unchanged for eons inside the crystal. During the formation of these crystals, water was trapped. This is evidenced by tiny air bubbles in the water formed as the water contracted. Air bubbles appeared to roll inside the tiny cavity of the crystal as the crystal is shifted. The geometric structural pattern from the water inside the hydrocrystal is maintained by the crystal and translated easily to water. So another thing you can add is blue topaz to water. The crystal has amazing structures, non-iridescent, non-irradiant. Unenhanced blue topaz, so the one that doesn't have like all the chemically enhanced color thing. You want to just get the normal original cut topaz. Anyway, other types of crystal are laminar crystal and anchi crystal. They also help structure water. If you want more, look into those yourself. So I'm going to briefly touch on this technology because I think it's really, really cool, and I think if you look up pictures of it, it looks really interesting. It kind of reminds me of pour over coffee and pour over like tea devices. So I think it's really cute. It is called a Gaia's Fountain of Life, and I found some pictures. You can go find them or look at these. One of the most distinctive vortexing devices created to date is the Gaia Fountain of Life. This exquisite device not only structures water, it allows the user to connect with the water in a uniquely beautiful way. Each one is individually handcrafted, creating golden mean spirals as the water continuously circulates through the magnetic field, and various other enhancements including Anaki crystals and paramagnetic rock. Adding light energy with MRET technology. I'm going to briefly go into this. Research at University of Washington demonstrates that sunlight ionizes water and induces structural organization. Light has both electric and magnetic components. Certain wavelengths are a good source of organizational energy, useful for structuring water. A technology known as MRET, molecular resonance effect technology, uses light, magnetic, piezoelectric energy to structure water. Merit devices are based on the research of Igor Smirnov, PhD, who designed a special crystalline polymer. When activated by an external magnetic field and oscillating light, the polymer generates subtle piezoelectric low-frequency vibrations, which are communicated to the water without direct physical contact. Water produced by the Merit technology carries a frequency that is very similar to the Earth's Schumann resonance. It also carries a full spectrum of light frequencies from the sun. This provides harmonious blend of life force supporting vibrational information. The resulting water retains coherent structure for the long period of time. So a Merit device looks like this. Water ionizers. Electrolyzing devices, otherwise known as water ionizers, use electrical current to create structured water. Water ionizers are not recommended for the reasons previously outlined in chapter 5 and 6. I don't have 5 and 6, and I don't have an ionizer, so I wouldn't know why. If you're curious on why, I would give some research. Do research. Research. That's all I can say. Yeah. Now this is like the exciting. Okay, so the next part for me, I absolutely obsessed and am loving, because it is about the triskelion. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly. Next time you have the opportunity to sit and watch a river, notice the spirals that often occur in sets of 3. Oh, like Nikola Tesla. Okay, anyway, sorry. Many things in nature occur in sets of 3. The number 3 is the epitome of balance. 3 lines are necessary to form a plane. There are 3 dimensions, length, width, and height, required to form a solid. Many concepts in philosophy, mathematics, art, and physics are also balanced on the number 3. The ancient symbol called the triskelion, or spiral of life, is based on a number of 3 and universal spiral. This symbol is found throughout ancient history all over the world. It appears on Coptic antiques, which is like Egyptian. Christian Egyptian antiques, the rocks of Mongolia, Tibetan rings, on Buddhist banners, on ornaments, on all of the Himalayan countries, and on the pottery of the Neolithic age. The symbol is drawn in one single line representing the natural flow of Earth and her seasons and cycles. The triskelion represents balance optimized by the number of 3. When constructed of copper, the triskelion sets up a bioelectric and biomagnetic energy flow based on mathematics and sacred geometry. Placed in or around water, it creates energetic vortices that eventually bring structure and add energy to water. One of the authors noticed that the buildup of scale on her older pan used to heat up water began to dissolve within a week after she set the water vessel over a large copper triskelion. The dilution of the scale is a classic indicator that the water is structured. Many will notice when they begin to use structured water that teapots lose their scale when structured water is heated. Thick scale does not form on the container, only thin layers of powdery mineral residue. Hard water minerals in structured water are not attracted to each other in the same way that minerals are attracted to unstructured water. They do not form the same type of deposit. See treating hard water in chapter 14. Now, I don't have chapter 14 like I said in before, so I just put a little thing saying look into the treatment of hard water for self. Anyway, the authors do not recommend boiling water for consumption. If you heat water for tea, warm is just enough to infuse the tea rather than boiling the water. A copper triskelion will structure water within several hours when used in conjunction with crystals and or vortexing devices. It can even be a more powerful tool. You can either place the triskelion under or inside your water vessel. Even better, place one on the side of the vessel at the top and another at the bottom, another at the side. This will create structured water. It will also preserve any programming in the water, which Dr. Emoto goes into how water can be programmed. It will protect water from negative patterns in the environment. The triskelion has an amazing ability to neutralize harmful energies in almost any setting. Both authors use triskelions in and around their water containers, in the refrigerator, on pitchers and water bottles, etc. Energizing salt solutions with triskelion. The bioelectric and biomagnetic flow of energy induced by a copper triskelion is ideal complement to the energy of unprocessed salt. When used together, placed beneath or alongside salt solutions, triskelion augments the energy of the ocean and changes the ions so that they conduct a greater flow of energy. For enhanced conductivity, charge all your salt solutions with a triskelion with a light life ring before you add them to water. Lifeline rings. Another simple tool of sacred geometry that will bring structure and life force to water is referred to as a light life ring. Light life technology invented by Slim Sperling in the 1980s and 1990s creates a counter-rotating vortex and a column of energy that passes through the ring in both directions for a considerable distance. Early experiments using the rings indicate that they potentialize water and give it healing properties. Further experimentation indicates that under some circumstances, the rings altered the freezing temperature of water. This is a good indication that the water's structure has been changed. In his private lab, Hans Becker, an inventor who performed early research on the light of life rings, used a current probe with a special transformer to show that the rings amplify subtle energy input by 400 to 450 times. He also analyzed water placed in the energy field of the rings, used a spectrophotometer, and found that the rings altered the optical transmission of the water. They allow more light to pass through as they change water's absorption of photons and light units. These are indicators of changes in molecular structure. The energetic qualities of a closed-loop coil have sparked intense interest. According to Hans Becker, when you create a closed-loop coil, energy begins to flow, and the laws of physics go out the window. They may be the simplest, most effective source of energy there is, gathering and condensing it freely from space. This is why planets follow elliptical paths and why everything from atoms to galaxies spin in circular motion. It is why the universe does not wind down and come to a stop. Light is harmonically connected with circular motion. The resonance frequency of the original light life ring is 144 megahertz, a harmonic reciprocal of light speed. In the case of the light rings, the length of the wire is important to the circular design. Each wire is cut to a precise measurement based on sacred geometry, used to build the Great Pyramid. The length of the wire, 1/10 millionth of the polar radius of Earth. The length is also related to the radius of the mass of the hydrogen atom. The wire is looped back on itself and twisted before completing the circle. Light rings draw in cosmic energy and life force. When used with water, they can become the most powerful tools mentioned in this book. Endowed with basic structural organization, water is ready to adopt more complex patterns based on the vibratory information it receives. This is a subject for the next chapter, which we don't have. But we do have Dr. Emoto messages hidden in water. And something really interesting mentioned in the prologue. So this is the water structure booklet complete now. But something that was really interesting that was in the prologue, like I mentioned, was the fact that there was a gentleman who was a researcher, and he was in the field of medicine, and he had a specific medicine and dilution of whatever, etc. And he realized that scientifically and medically, he got this medicine diluted to a point where scientifically and medically they could no longer see any traces of the antidote, yet the water imprint itself still had the same effect. And the imprint of the water, so it's basically stating, like, no matter how much you dilute the water's retained its information, which is really, really crazy, and really beautiful, because we are 70, 80, 90% water. So that is chapter 11 in how to structure your water, and I hope that was helpful. That is that booklet done, and I hope you have a beautiful day, rise, nighttime, wherever you are, collective. Assalamu alaikum. Let's rise, let's deprogram, let's realize we are 70, 80% water, and thoughts. If thoughts can imprint on water, thoughts can imprint within us. So if we're able to try and use our intention and focus, we can choose different thoughts and manifest a new life. And we have the power. Realistically, we have the power. And that's why we get bombarded with social media, with technology, billboards, all sorts of energy overloading things, and detoxing and taking these little steps to actually look at our water and realize, or just even praying over our water realistically and doing a vortex, putting some salts in. Just taking our power back, because we are magical crystalline water beings. Ciao, ciao, fam.